Alright everyone, welcome back to Podcast FB. It's your host here, and we've got a massive show for you today because the Manchester United transfer news carousel is spinning, and honestly, it's giving us more drama than a primetime soap opera. We're diving deep into some absolutely shocking reports that have just dropped, including a potential Højlund exit plan, a truly shock striker target, and the ever-evolving situation around our captain Bruno Fernandes. So grab your coffee, get settled, and let's break down what's happening behind the scenes at Old Trafford, because frankly some of the news coming out makes you question the direction the club is heading. Let's start with the headline that hit me like a freight train just before the show. Manchester United are seriously considering a move for Alexander Mitrovic. Yes, you heard that right. Mitrovic currently playing for Hilal in Saudi Arabia. This report isn't just coming out of nowhere. It's been broken by Ben Jacobs, who, as many of you know, has absolutely amazing links to the Saudi Pro League and has been absolutely spot on with news coming out of that region. So this isn't just paper talk. This is a very real possibility that United are looking at. Now, Ben Jacobs' report states that Manchester United, along with West Ham and Everton, are considering a possible move for Al Hilal's Alexander Mitrovic, and he is available for $40 million. He is also reportedly on a massive wage at Al Hilal, estimated at around £450,000 a week, or upwards of £400,000 a week. This means that if United were to sign him, he would almost certainly need to take a significant wage cut, because there is absolutely zero chance United are going to pay him that kind of salary. My immediate reaction to this news was shocked, to say the least, and honestly it absolutely screams that we are no longer a big club. That's what a link like this says to me. Why? Because look at the company we're in. Manchester United, West Ham, and Everton. What names do you notice in that report? Manchester United, West Ham, and Everton. Now, I want to be absolutely clear. This is no disrespect whatsoever to West Ham or Everton. They are both big clubs in their own right, but we are Manchester United. We finished 15th, I know, but still we are Manchester United. Why are we in the same conversations as West Ham and Everton for a 30-year-old striker? I've heard some of you on the show for a while now saying we're moving like Everton, and honestly, if we genuinely do get Mitrovic as our striker going into next season, and we are seriously considering this move, then yes, I'd have to agree. We are moving like Everton, we are moving like a West Ham. Those are literally the clubs that are going in for him. Putting aside the company we're keeping for a second, let's look at the player himself and the logic behind this. Mitrovic is a quality striker. He has scored 42 goals in 46 games. He has experience, and yes, based on current form, you could even argue he's an improvement on Rasmus Højlund. He has proven it in the Premier League before. However, my big concern is his age and what this signing represents. He's 30 years old, and this feels like a pattern we've seen time and time again at United. How many times have we gone and got a striker who is 30 and beyond? How many times have we brought in a player who is just a stopgap? That's it. That's the word I'm looking for. That's exactly what Mitrovic would be. We've done this repeatedly. I loved Edison Cavani. I wish we had him now, but even that was a stopgap. Wout Weghorst was a stopgap. Odion Ighalo was a stopgap. Radamel Falcao, as good as he was when he came in, was a stopgap. How many times do we go for strikers that are just stopgaps rather than going for a striker that's in their prime, that's ready to go and build with? If we would have gone for Mitrovic when he was in his prime at Fulham, say 26 or 27, that's a different story. I would have understood it. For example, someone like Jean-Philippe Mateta from Crystal Palace, would he be the best striker we could sign? None did, but I would be behind it because I think he's at the right age in his prime in the Premier League right now, and I think he'd do a good job for us and has years left in him. He's Premier League proven, ready to come in and be that striker for Manchester United. Mitrovic has done it before, but we're not getting him at the right time. We're going too late again. This is particularly frustrating because Manchester United have been prioritizing a striker for a year now. We knew even last summer that our priority position for this summer was going to be a striker. As soon as the new manager came through the door, most top sources reported that his #1 priority position was a striker. If we come out of this summer transfer window with Alexander Mitrovic from Al Hilal as our main striker signing, that simply was not part of the plan, and that again shows we've gone wrong somewhere in planning this transfer window. He just should not be the striker we bring in to lead this project under the new manager for our rebuild. This would again be another stopgap. While some might point to his goal record, and yes, he is a quality striker and an improvement on what we currently have in Højlund, this is just not the direction Manchester United should be going in. It would, for me, show that we haven't learned, we haven't changed, and it would definitely make me doubt the recruitment team at Manchester United. I've tried to give them a fair chance. The signing of Usman Kuna, referenced as Ugate Kunior at times in the transcript, is a top deal. I'm very happy with that. He is the exact sort of signing we needed. We got it done early, announced it on the opening day, paid a realistic fee around 62 to 65 million, which seems about his worth, not necessarily a bargain, but a good price. He's at the prime age Premier League, proven suits the system and has the right personality. I give credit to the recruitment team for that. It was a great signing to kick us off, but then we get linked to players like Mitrovic being mentioned alongside West Ham and Everton, and it just does worry me. Especially when you see players like Aït-Nouri signing for City, who was a player I've been talking about for a long time and who would have been perfect for us. It makes you wonder why we're not even trying for these players who make so much sense. Speaking of current strikers, let's talk about the news regarding Rasmus Højlund. Reports are coming out again, this time through Italian sources, that Inter Milan is their top target. However, the deal being reported is a loan deal with an option to buy. From what I can gather, Rasmus Højlund is indeed Inter's priority striker target, but if he's your top target, you should be paying up. You should be paying the money. A loan option doesn't make much sense from our perspective. Manchester United need a permanent sale here. Financially, this is important. We paid 72 million for Højlund. From a book value perspective, United would need to sell him for something like 38 to 40 million this summer just to break even on the deal. That's going to be difficult as it's likely more than what he is currently worth in the market. Pushing for a sale is crucial because we need funds to reinvest. The loan deal doesn't really help us with our transfer budget this summer apart from getting his wage off the books, but his wage isn't particularly large anyway. Many people have written off Rasmus Højlund in a United shirt, and honestly, I struggle to see a clear path back for him here. However, it wouldn't be the first time a player leaves Manchester United and goes on to do really well, looking revitalized and revived. Højlund's best times for United were often in European competitions. He did well at Atalanta and had big fans in Italy. He looked like he was going to be a good striker in Serie A. At United, he has looked hopeless. This is genuinely hopeless at times. We've questioned which Premier League teams he would even start for. In Italy, where he previously showed promise, the league is often described as a slower paced league. Now, I don't want to offend anyone, especially those who watch a lot of Serie A, and I know it's a great technical and entertaining league with fantastic defensive structure. I plan to watch more myself next season. But from what I've seen and looking at players who have left the Premier League and thrived there, it does appear to be a slower paced league. I honestly think Rasmus Højlund would do better over there. Under a proper structure, potentially at Inter under Inzaghi, he has a much better chance of succeeding. He has youth on his side and showed potential in Italy before. If Inter sees him as a top target, Manchester United should absolutely be pushing for a permanent sale. Now let's address the elephant in the room, or perhaps the captain in the room, Bruno Fernandes. His future is still uncertain, with reports indicating that Al Hilal is increasingly confident of signing him. There's been talk of deadlines moving, but the latest report, particularly from Ben Jacobs, again suggests Bruno has a deadline of Friday to make up his mind. Al Hilal reportedly wants him for the Club World Cup. As a massive Bruno fan myself, I will be absolutely gutted if he goes. He is our most valuable player. He is extremely valuable to this club. However, I don't blame him one bit if he decides it's time to move on. He was promised a lot, and I think the hierarchy at Manchester United has massively underdelivered. Bruno sees what's going on day in and day out. He knows the direction of this rebuild. What he wants to win at United is a Premier League or a Champions League. We are nowhere near that. If he doesn't think he's still going to be playing in the first team by the time we are competing for those trophies, he might well be thinking about taking the massive amount of money being offered, which would be huge for his family and future generation. Reports suggest Al Hilal will pay anything to get Bruno. If that's the case and we walk away with anything less than $120 million, I will be annoyed. We need to get the most out of this situation possible if he is going to go. And here's the crucial part, that money absolutely has to be invested wisely. If we get a significant fee from Bruno, potentially 120 million or more, we need to rebuild the team with it. This money could potentially be considered pure profit from a financial perspective, as he's been here for so long. You can rebuild the team with that money if you spend it properly. This brings us to a broader concern. Manchester United is falling further and further behind. While we are getting Usman Kuna, which is great, we cannot stop there. I keep seeing our competitors, Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, moving and signing seriously good players. Players are coming to the Premier League or moving to the top team. These are the clubs that are already way out in front of us. Meanwhile, we are being being linked with 30-year-old stopgaps, seemingly aligning ourselves with clubs like West Ham and Everton. This just doesn't align with the strategy of a top club aiming to compete for titles. Our competition next year might indeed feel like Everton and Brentford if we don't sort out our recruitment strategy. There is a lot of criticism around United's recruitment. Some argue it's the scouting department, but I think the times we've overspent and been burned, like with Antony or Casemiro, weren't necessarily due to the scouting department's recommendations. Often it's because the team above panicked. We didn't plan our windows properly and ended up chucking money at players the manager wanted because we were in trouble. Antony, for example, wasn't the scouting department's top right-wing target. They reportedly valued him much lower and noted he was too left-footed, but we ignored that and paid the money because we panicked. Casemiro was similar. We were scouting Frankie de Jong and Casemiro became available after we lost the first 2 games. We paid a huge fee for him then. The massive overspending has often been due to the higher-ups panicking when the window wasn't planned properly. With Ineos now, we need to make sure we're spending money on the right profiles. You can never be certain a signing will succeed, but you need to target players with a very strong chance of success, and that means trusting the scouting department more. While Kuna is a great start, we seem to be missing out on other signings that would fit the new system perfectly. I mentioned Aït-Nouri. He's a 23-year-old left wingback who has ripped up the Prem. He would fit perfectly in a system that relies heavily on quality wingbacks. Crucially, he's played with Kuna all season and has a good connection with him. It's been known since January that Aït-Nouri wasn't extending his contract and has just a year left, meaning Wolves have to sell him this summer to avoid losing him for free. He's changed agents and is expected to move. And now City look like they are about to wrap that deal up. I just cannot fathom why we haven't at least tried to go for him. It makes so much sense. Young Premier League, proven technically excellent, has a relationship with Kaunar and potentially available at a reasonable price because of his contract situation. Why did we not move for him? It makes too much sense for us, so of course we seem to avoid it. Other players who would fit the system and are being linked with top clubs include Turkey, who might also go to City. These are the sorts of players the clubs ahead of us are targeting while we are looking at stopgap strikers and missing obvious fits for the manager's tactics. There's also the concern about how the club handles young players. I personally think in previous years we've put way too much pressure on youngsters coming through and it's nearly destroyed a few of them. We've seen the pressure on Kobbie Mainoo. He's 20, extremely talented, had his first full season, and people are already writing him off because he wasn't perfectly consistent or didn't start well under the new system. Did they not see his breakout season or his performances for England? Alejandro Garnacho is another one. I think he's probably been thrown in too much and his ego might have started to grow because he started so many games without being properly nurtured by more experienced senior players. And Rasmus Højlund, as we discussed, he should have perhaps been the second striker to a more experienced forward like a Harry Kane type when he arrived. Instead, he was immediately the number 9 after just half a season in Italy. The pressure put on him, I think, has contributed to his regression. Sometimes, yes, you have to accept that if a player is good enough, they are old enough, as we see with players like Darren and Zaire Emery at PSG. They look levels above and are playing regularly. But PSG have built a team and environment that nurtures young talent after rebuilding without superstars, and United's environment is fragmented with players from different managers and no full rebuild process completed yet. It's harder for young players to thrive in that environment. We need signings that are going to go on this journey with us. Mitrovic is not that player. Finally, a potential storm brewing that could impact our ability to spend the Marcus Rashford situation. Reports are coming out that Luis Diaz is one of the main targets for FC Barcelona. This is worrying because apparently Rashford only wants Barcelona. United need to sell him for profit. If Barcelona sign Luis Diaz, it's highly unlikely they will also go for Rashford, considering the high cost of Diaz and Rashford's weight. So where does that leave Rashford? He wants Champions League football. It means we could be waiting all summer long on a Rashford transfer saga. We can't spend the money we get from his sale until we know it's coming in, and it doesn't look like Ineos are willing to take massive financial risks in this window. That could seriously delay our ability to do business, which is incredibly frustrating when clubs ahead of us are already strengthening significantly. We need a clear plan. Omar Barada, our new CEO, said we have one. But when you get linked to Mitrovic, it makes it hard to understand what that plan is. We need to make sure we get our outgoing sorted quickly. Players that feel impossible to shift need an exit strategy. Look, the signing of Kuna is a massive positive. It's the exact type of signing we needed. It gives me hope that Ineos's recruitment team can do smart business, like the incredible signing of Alvaro Fernandes, referenced as Euro for just 1 million, getting him over Real Madrid, who looks like a future world-class center back. They also made good signings like Mazzari and Diallo, referenced as Dit Darudwani, though the jury is still out on some others, so they have shown capability. But when I hear rumors about Mitrovic or see us missing out on players like Ait Nouri who fit the system and are available at a good price due to contract situations, it just makes me worried about the direction of our window. We need to trust the scouting department, avoid panic buys, and spend any money we get, particularly from a potential Bruno sale, wisely on multiple positions. This week is huge, particularly for Bruno Fernandes' future. Any updates on that will be critical. We'll be here covering it all. Alright, that's a deep dive into the madness of the Man Utd transfer window right now. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you worried about the Mitrovic links? What should we do with Højlund? How would you feel if Bruno leaves, and how would you spend that money? Interact. Thank you all for tuning into Podcast FB. If you enjoyed the analysis and discussion, please smash a like on the video before you go. Have an amazing week, everyone. I'll see you on the next one.